Welcome to the world of Moto, where there's a phone type for everyone and every country gets a different combination of models. Not the modular Z series or the throwback Moto X4. Instead, we're talking about the Moto G, which debuted in 2013 alongside the original Moto X, and has since gone on to eclipse its more expensive counterparts in both name recognition and, more importantly, in sales. The G6, which along with the Play is coming to the US and replaces the G5 Plus in Motorola's lineup, and the G6 Plus, which largely fills in for the Moto X4 in countries where that phone didn't launch. Confused? Don't be. We'll walk you through everything right now. The biggest visual difference you'll see across the entire Moto G line this year is a move to taller, narrower devices, shifting the screens to the same 2:1 aspect ratio we've seen from practically every other phone company in the last 12 months. You'll also notice reflective curved backs, similar to the Moto X4, and at least on the G6 and G6 Plus, a narrower front-facing fingerprint sensor below the display. Let's start with the individual phones. At a hair under $200, the Moto G6 Play is the cheapest of the three new Gs, and trades shiny rear Gorilla Glass for shiny rear plastic. Most of the Moto G6 Play's cost reduction comes from two things: the 5.7-inch 720p LCD panel, and the Snapdragon 427 chip that was common in last year's Moto E4 series. You're also getting up to 3 GB of RAM and 32 GB of storage, along with a massive 4,000 mAh battery that Moto promises will give 36 hours of mixed use. Around back, you'll find my favorite part of the phone. No, not the 13 megapixel camera with f2.0 lens, but the fingerprint sensor integrated right into the Motorola Batwing symbol. I've seriously been asking for this feature since like 2014 with the second generation Moto X, so I'm really happy it's finally in a Motorola phone. Along with the G6 Play, the mainline Moto G6 will be coming to the US, and it's kind of an interesting phone. Same 8 Cortex A53 cores, same Adreno 506 GPU, same ultra-efficient 14nm process. There's a 3,000 mAh battery inside, and at the same time, the G6 gains a lot of features that its immediate predecessor, the Moto G5, lacked, like a beautiful, tall, 5.7-inch display, dual cameras, and a first for the G line, USB-C charging. Yes, this is the first Moto G phone to have a USB-C port, and it's pretty great. So let's spend a second relishing this victory for consumers. Okay, I'm done. Not only does the Moto G6 have a dual camera setup, but it also debuts in the camera app a bunch of scene recognition features, like landmark identification and document and object recognition that in our brief demo worked pretty well. The second sensor also facilitates portrait mode, but unlike the more expensive Moto phones, it doesn't actually do anything special on its own. It's not wide angle or monochrome. We're also seeing the fruits of Motorola's newer, simpler camera interface here, which is a welcome refresh after the underwhelming photo-taking experiences of years past. Moving to the 13 megapixel front-facing camera, the Moto G6 debuts super fast facial recognition. In many ways, the G6 is the true successor to the G5 Plus, or even the newer G5S Plus, whereas the G6 Plus stands in for the Moto X4 in the markets that phone didn't enter. To that end, the Moto G6 Plus feels like a larger Moto X4, with a 5.9-inch 18:9 display and the same Snapdragon 630 platform as the Moto X4. It also has up to 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, plus a 3200 mAh battery, and a similar dual camera setup to the G6, but its 12 megapixel sensor is a little bit better, and it has a wider f1.7 aperture. On the front, there's a 16 megapixel sensor that has a cool 8 megapixel low light mode that doubles the number of pixels used per photo, and Motorola says is going to change your life, but really it's probably just going to get you better low light photos in places that you don't have a lot of light, and there's no front-facing flash to make you seem all blown out, so this is the next best thing. Thanks, Moto. The G6 Plus is an imposing piece of technology and really pushes the Moto G line into that budget flagship territory, something I'm excited to see develop in future iterations. That's why I'm also a bit disappointed it's not coming to the US, even with its similarities to the Moto X4. On the software side, we're looking at stock Android 8.0 Oreo on every phone, with only a bit of differentiation coming from the included Moto app. Like every Motorola phone we've seen in the past few years, the excellent Moto display greets you when you pick up the phones, while your more expensive G6 and G6 Plus have overhauled Moto voice capabilities that allow you to ask your phone to do local commands like watch Jessica Jones on Netflix, while deferring to Google Assistant when you need to pass it off to things on the internet. To me, that's the best of both worlds. I'm looking at you, Bixby. But I'll have to wait till we get closer to the release date in late May to demo it more in depth. So those are the 3 new Moto G models, 2 of which are coming to the US. There are also 3 new Moto E models, 2 of which are also coming to the US. We'll have a lot more about both of these series in the coming days and weeks.